Now, I'm going to be talking about the community setup here in this video. If you're thinking about doing a community tank, which most people do, I'm only going to talk about, by the way, community and planted setups because those are the ones that most people do, and if you want a cyclone setup, then you got to do, or exotic setup, you need to really know what you're doing, so do some further research. I suggest, if you're still deciding on planted or community, watch both of these videos. Watch them both anyway. I mean, good information. So, community tank. Now, what you need is, it's a very simple setup. I'm going to go use this 10 gallon because 10 gallon is usually what most people call the basic setup. So, I'm going to go with the 10 gallon here. Now, if you go larger, you may need different things, but besides that, I think you're better. You're probably better. The biggest tank you can get is the best because you can get more fish in there. You can get bigger fish. You can go with a more wider variety, and you're not constantly having to wash the ammonia or anything. But for a 10 gallon, that's kind of the minimum I suggest, unless you're doing a shrimp tank. That's different. 10 gallon is probably the minimum for fish keeping unless you're doing some other types of fish, but I'm not going to go into that. So 10 gallon. So I suggest you not buy the kit, because if you buy the kit, you're probably going to miss out on a lot of stuff that you need. And most of the stuff is very cheaply made because they're just trying to factory make it and go really fast. But we're going to talk about what you need. First of all, you need your fish tank. 10 gallon fish tank, usually $10 to $15 for the tank, depending on how you get it. You're going to need gravel. I suggest natural colored gravel. I have this gravel just because I had it left over, but I suggest natural colored gravel because it's just going to be a lot easier. You're going to need, or sand. You can use sand too, but again, you need to know what you're doing. Right, so you're going to need to get your tank, your gravel. You're going to need to get a filter. You do not want under gravel or what's the other ones called? The air pump filters or whatever. You don't want those. Those are very annoying. They don't really work. You really want to get a hang-on-back filter. AquaClear 20 or 30 or whatever you want to call it is probably one of my favorites. They work really, really well. You do need to get a filter that cycles the water 4 to 5 times per hour. That means that there's gallons per hour listed on your filter, and if you have a 10 gallon tank, you're going to need 40 to 50 gallons per hour cycled. The more you can get, the better if you can afford it, but that's the minimum. And that goes for all tanks. So the next thing you're going to need is you're going to need like a fish net. It goes for about $1. You're going to need a siphon, which is about 8 or 9 or 10 sometimes, depends. You may want to start with some bacteria if you really want to cycle your tank very fast, which I'm going to talk about cycling soon. You may need live bacteria. You're going to need aquarium wool, which goes for about $5 a bag, and that's like enough to supply you forever. You're going to need regular aquarium wool, and you're going to need, you have a filter. You're going to need some fake or live plant decorations, and I'm going to recommend to you what I think. You're also going to need your fish, obviously. You're also going to need water conditioner. It goes for about $3 a bottle, and you only need to put in about 5 drops. And you're probably going to need test kits, which is about $40 for all the test kits you need. But if you're willing to waste a lot of time going very, very slowly with your tank, then you won't really need test kits, but you will need them if you're going to get really good with your fish keeping. What else? Oh, you're going to need a heater depending on where you live, or depending on how your house is. Your house, well, and depending on your fish too. Jeez, that depends. You're going to want to go with, I'm going to recommend some hardy fish later in this video, and I'm going to tell you exactly what they need. But You may need a heater depending on what type of fish you're getting. I'm going to explain that. So yeah, that's what you're all going to need. I'm probably going to list it down below on the bottom. If I forgot anything, anyone who does know what they're doing, please comment if I forgot anything, and I'm going to add it to the bottom, and I'll probably make a video that I forgot to give it because I forget. I don't think there's anything. Oh, right. You're going to probably want, I'm being a redneck here, and I'm not using the lid, but you're probably going to want a lid. Now, and a light, too. You're going to probably want a light with that lid. Now, your lid, if you want to be really cheap about it, like I am, you can go and get yourself a window screen lid, and they go for about $4 or $5. They are very, very cheap, and they do the job correctly. A regular lid for a fish tank may go for $20, $30. Plexiglass lids, they will stop evaporation. Makes it a little bit easier. I think I got this thing for $10, but I'm not positive. You're gonna want to measure your tank. You're gonna have to measure your tank with these too. But you can get a hood. Hoods are they're gonna be the best quality. They're gonna look a lot better too. But if you want to be cheap, those are your two options. But you are gonna want a lid. I'm definitely gonna get a lid for this tank. But these types of fish are not big jumpers, so I'm not too worried. But if you do have jumper fish, then you really need to get a lid. I can't stress that enough. I've lost a lot of fish without lids. Is there anything else? Yes, you may need a light depending on, again, if you're going to put plants in, you may need a light depending on what plants you get. But if you get very hardy, low light plants, then you may not even need a light. But sometimes it's best just to get it close enough to a window. Like, you don't want it straight onto a window, especially if it's like the window's south, where it's just going to get sun all day. You don't want that. You want it to be in the east or the west if you do have a window. And you got to be careful with that. But this window's on the east side, so these things get morning sun and they don't get anything after. You're probably best putting your tanks on the east or the west side so it doesn't give too much direct sun where it's going to boil the fish, and it's not going to get too little sun where it's not going to affect the plants. If you do put it on the north or south side, and let's say you live up in Canada, the angle of the sun is going to be a lot lower, so you're going to get shorter days, so it's not going to really matter if you have it on the north or south side. But if you are down south, you're going to want to get them on the east or west side. Probably you're better off east. Right. So now I'm going to go on to explaining.